Hello, everyone. My name is Juana Bourdney, and I am a director on the strategy team for our Oracle HCM Cloud product. And today I'm going to talk about adapting to your fast-changing workforce. And within this presentation today, there are going to be some forward-looking statements. So this is our safe harbor related to forward-looking statements. So when we talk about adapting to change, as we all know, there's been shifts in how we work, where we work, and this has created some real opportunities and challenges for our workforces. So organizations have had to assess what are their needs. They've had to reimagine the work relationships. Many have had changes in their demands, what they're actually producing or offering. And then that's made them have to look at their supply pools. There's been a need for upskilling and reskilling. And then there's just this immediate need of moving people around to optimize their workforce. We had to have scheduling changes, location changes, where people are working, what they're doing. So a lot of changes that we all have had to adapt to and adapt to very quickly. So let's first talk about skills. Skills have been on the top of mind of CEOs for the last few years. All of the partners, experts, and analysts in this area have been saying that organizations have got to focus on their skills. In this PwC survey from the last 10 years, as you can see, every year it's been top of mind for CEOs, and they said, we know it's a really big issue we have to address, and we don't feel we're in a position to really address it now. Well, as of Deloitte's 2020 survey, the time has really come, we've all hit the wall, and now respondents to the survey have said that the majority of their people, somewhere between 50 and 100% of their workers, are going to need to be reskilled or upskilled within the next 3 years. So now's the time. Everyone has to look at this and do something about it. So let's talk a little bit deeper about what we mean when we say getting those right skills in your organizations. There's a difference between reskilling and upskilling. So reskilling is the more obvious, where there probably needs to be some training, let's say, in the technical space because of just the changing technical landscape. That's just been the conversation so far. But now there could be a few more changes that have caused some additional skill changes that need to happen. So there could be some reskilling that needs to happen in just processes and procedures because you're offering different things or producing different things. A need for new certifications. Just a need for different skills based on that changing workforce. And then there's the need to upskill, and organizations really need to look at the difference in those two because upskilling speaks to those areas that are a little bit more difficult for workers to gain those skills, right? So those soft skills like leadership or emotional intelligence, those things that take a little bit more thought and maybe a larger, more planned out process to really get those skills into your organizations. And we don't want to just think about the position that organizations are in, but actually think about the workforce. In this area, workers are in a condition where they're thinking, I don't have the right skills. And so organizations want to let those workers know that they're committed to their development and give them opportunities for skills so that it's a win-win for everyone involved. So how do we do that? So we think the first step, obviously, is assessing what the skill needs are. And it's a very large task for most organizations to collect the skills in their organization and actually maintain them. So we have tools like Skills Assistant that provide us with the ability to make it a little bit easier, a really easy user interface where workers are able to say, let me go here and update my skills, but what are they and what skills should I have? Where do I begin with that? Well, our skill assistant uses machine learning and has this engine that says, here are the skills based on the job and role you're in that you probably may have. Select from these skills. Or based on the jobs or roles that you're looking to perform, these are the skills that are associated with those jobs, and this is where you want to move to. So kind of give some pre-definitions of skills and promotes an easier experience for the workers to be able to provide what skills they have and learn where those gaps are, as well as the organization knowing what skills they have in their pool of workers and where those gaps are. The other tool that we provide is our robust and very flexible learning tool. So when we talk about, again, reskilling and having that ability to say, let's provide some training, in today's world, it's a must that learning tools are very flexible. Our tool allows workers to be able to take courses anywhere, any day, anytime, on any device. So that, and that flexibility is just, like I said, required in today's world. We also have what we call learning journeys, where not only can you deliver programs, courses, or defined courses, but subject matter experts that you've identified are able to also add content to this learning library, where workers can take courses that are just maybe snippets or maybe real uh, in-depth looks at specific tasks or specific skills that a subject expert can really deliver and show by example for workers. So you can give a true broad example of all types of courses to your workers and give a real robust training experience. Also, our learning tool is built into the talent lifecycle. So that means as you are looking for opportunities or looking for jobs within the organization, the learning that's or required for that job is suggested to you. Or if you're being considered for a new job, the learning that's required for that new position can be suggested for you, as well as when you are completing your profile, the skills that you have, then you're also recommended what skills are available or what training is there for me to build my skills. So it's a really complete solution when it comes to providing learning to your workforce. And upskilling. So again, those areas where it's a little bit more difficult and maybe courses is not the best way to upskill your workers, maybe more experiential learning is the road to take. So in looking at that, we are delivering our new opportunity marketplace. And what that is giving managers the ability to say, you know what, in my organization, I have this opportunity. Perhaps it's for a team leader. And let me post this opportunity or this gig that's a specific opportunity. It has specific parameters around it. This is the job you're doing for this time. This is the tasks that are required. And give a place where workers can go and browse those opportunities and see what fits and interests them. So you're killing two birds with one stone. The workers are provided with new experiences, new growth opportunities. You're able to provide this experiential learning so that you can upskill your workers. And also, a lot of times workers are in jobs that they're doing one thing, but they really have additional skills that are not being tapped into. And you can find those other skills that are in your workforce that people have that are not really being utilized. So again, it's a win-win for the workers and the organizations. And we know skills are important. Like I said, it's been top of mind. But as an organization, you have to focus on not just getting those right skills, but getting those right skills in the right place and at the right time. So what does that mean? Like I said, right now, people are optimizing their workforce and moving people around, right? It's been a heavy burden on the HR, or heavy focus in the HR area to get people in the right locations, in the right schedules, with the right working environment. So we have to look at what tools do we have to do that easier, to help adapt to that change really quickly, as well as more long-term. So as things are changing in our environment, we have to look at reimagining those worker relationships and perhaps considering contingent workforce. And what does that mean? And how can I utilize perhaps that form of worker? So we've thought about these areas as well. And I want to share with you some of the tools we have for these areas. So when it comes to just reallocating the resources or the areas for your workforce you currently have, you may be moving people, like I said, to new locations. They may be changing from regular to temporary, full-time to part-time. And usually with all of those changes, it's not one data element that's changing. You have rules in place in your organization that kind of go along with that. So for example, you may have a situation where you're moving several people to a specific facility. And because of current times, that facility is only operating on third shift, and that facility only has part-time workers. Well, it would be nice to know or be able to design within the application that when you go to change that location for a worker, all of that other data is already changed for you. We call it autocomplete in our design studio. And the design studio is a tool that allows HR professionals to easily, with a real easy user interface, to define those types of rules that you have that make data changes compliant with your policies, and things that, because one thing happens, it means another thing has to be true. You can make those changes easily, makes your data correct, makes the whole experience much easier, and we feel it's a really powerful tool to assist you. In addition to that, a lot of times we know that organizations have some of the same policies or same types of policies. So this tool does come pre-configured with some rules there, but the rules are very easy for you to define and change as you see fit for your organization. Another aspect of your workers moving around is workers obviously may have been furloughed, may be coming back to work now, they may be working from home. These are all new experiences. There's health and safety concerns or policies and procedures, protocols that need to be put in place. And so that's not an easy thing. That's not as simple as just changing data elements on where those workers are, but it's a full experience that needs to happen for those workers. So we've created journeys. And so journeys are a way to string together steps and tasks that need to happen, and make sure that you put some management and maintenance on making sure that all of those steps occur. So for example, you could create a journey for returning to work. That returning to work might have a small video on the fact that it's a new location and getting a worker familiar with that location. That journey may include something that you want workers to make sure that they read, because it's a new protocol on the health and safety tips that they have got to adhere to in this particular location. So it's very modular. You're able to put any type of medium into those steps, put multiple actors into those steps, and really ensure that an entire process cater to whatever the specific event is and cater to whatever your specific requirements are, is all right there in the journey, and make sure that the entire process is complete. And it's important to know this is not just for the traditional HR events, but whatever event you create, whatever event makes sense to your organization. So like I said, returning to work, or just things that happen in an employee's life cycle, right? Returning from maternity leave. That's always one that has a lot of pieces to it that organizations struggle in pulling everything together. Or even from a worker's perspective, thinking about going out on maternity leave. What does that mean? And what are all the steps that are involved in there? So again, any of the experiences or journeys that workers experience that you all want to create experiences for your workers, journeys allows you, again, to string together those tasks with different mediums and make sure it's a good, effective experience for everybody involved. So aside from in the short term, getting everybody where they need to be and working most effectively and optimizing your workforce, another thing that we've learned with our recent times is that, you know, we're now working in times where everyone's working on Zoom calls. Everyone's working on Teams through their Slack channels. So it's a different and working environment. And in the past, there have been some concerns in organizations to really adapting to this idea of using external contractors, because there were some barriers, things like being separated from the group. Well, in today's world, we've learned that we can all be in separate locations and still effectively work together, because that's what we've had to do. So organizations are taking a new look at the feasibility of more external contractors in their environment. So when I say that, I think that's a loaded statement. And I want to talk a little bit about exactly what does that mean. So when we look at your contingent workforce, there's definitely still a need for the traditional forms of contingent workers. So like perhaps the consulting relationships you may have that are often found in your finance or IT areas, as well as perhaps in areas of your organization where you've outsourced work. Those traditional areas of work of contingent workers still remains a viable need for all of that in your organization. But now organizations are looking at this new idea of gigs or task-based work. So for example, let's say you are a design company and you have some web design to do. You may not want to bring on a whole new web designer, but you may want to say, you know what, we can create this task that is a specific task with a specific skill, and we can bring on a worker and make them part of a team just for that specific task. And that might be more cost efficient for us. So it's something that organizations have got to really look at. So one use case in this area, recently we've talked with one of our larger automotive retail manufacturers, and they said that's exactly the position that they're in, that they currently have been looking at, not just internal workers, but also external workers, for looking at this concept of applying gigs and seeing how they can get these new pools of resources. And they're saying there's still the need for traditional contingent workforce relationships, but also this gig workforce relationship. And understanding that to do this properly or to really expand in this area, it's not just a matter of assessing your needs and the cost, but there's a lot of policies and procedures that need to be in place to make sure you're compliant in this area. And that's, that everything is working as far as your policies and procedures within your organization, but it's also the external compliance that comes along with different worker relationships. So it's a big picture that needs to be looked at and well thought out. So when we talk about that, again, what types of tools do we have to help you to adapt to this change and looking at your organization in this new way? So we think our modeling tool is a really good resource for saying, let's let managers look at their organizations in a deeper way and say, let me take a closer look, because I might have to be working with fewer resources, and I might need those resources to be doing different things, more things. How can I augment my team with potentially contingent workers, with gig workers that may be needed for certain times, not for the entire, as a complete hired employee? How do I fit them in? How do I, looking at the goals that we have, the demands that we have as an organization, and that I have to fulfill with my organization, and how do I get the right resources to meet those? So again, first assessing those and having tools for collaboration for managers to look at their area. And then the next thing is actually managing contingent workers. So, today you may be in a situation where contingent workers are just brought into your organization through agencies. But if you're going to have this as a more broader piece of your workforce, then you probably need to take a closer look and manage them a little bit differently. So today, you can manage contingent workers in our solution the same way that you do employees. You have all of those features available to you separately that you can partition in the database, your contingent workers. So sourcing, performance reviewing, onboarding, any contractual functionality, time and labor, all of those pieces of things that you would need to track for regular employees, you can track for contingent workers today in our system. But then you also have things like our design studio that I talked about, where you can create specific rules that are automatically applied to the situations that apply to contingent workers. You have our digital assistant, because you have workers that are moving in and out of the organization and probably will even have more questions than your employees may have. And so easily with our digital assistant, they have a way to get questions answered. But we're also looking at expanding our opportunity marketplace that I talked about before, and expanding anytime pay. So let's take a closer look at that. So when it comes to the opportunity marketplace, right now, it's, like I said, a way to upskill your internal workers and give them more opportunities and grow their careers. But we're looking at saying this might be a great way to offer opportunities to external workers as well. This way you're able to collect skills for an external pool of resources that might be useful to you as you are sourcing. And you have, again, a really easy user interface and experience for those workers to be able to browse through and find the opportunities that you have available in your organization. And as well as posting those opportunities, paying contingent workers is a little bit different than paying the rest of your workforce. So we'll have dedicated UIs to those types of workers. It'll be real-time calculations for those works that may need to be paid daily, hourly, per unit, whatever is appropriate for your situation. As you all know, we have very robust approval system. So all the approvals will be built in, and it'll be part of our delivered payroll workflows. But it'll be catered specifically to those contingent workers that have their own nuances. So we've talked about a lot. So what have we talked about? The workforce is changing. We have to adapt to those changes quickly. And some top of mind areas that we have to look at is the skills in our workforce. So reskilling and upskilling those workers, as well as efficiently and quickly moving around resources and looking at the relationships that we have with our workers. Because as an organization, we don't just need to have the right skills, but we need to have the right skills in the right place at the right time. And we think we've delivered some really agile tools to assist you. So the skills assistant, helping in that gargantuan task of getting the skills collected for all of your organization. Things like the journeys, where you can create experiences for all of the journeys that your workers have, and cater them to those experiences. The design studio that allows you to, again, put in defined rules that apply to your organization so you can keep things compliant with your policies. And then again, the expanding opportunity marketplace that we feel gives you a really great way to develop skills, develop your workforce, and potentially be able to build a pool of external resources as well if you find that that's the right fit for your organization. So hopefully you've walked away with some tools and some thoughts about adapting to the changes in the workforce today. So thank you for today. And if you're looking for more information, please go to oracle.com/HCM.